Hello everyone, Adnan here from Polygonflow. In today's video, we're gonna take this fairly simple scene and turn it into a colorful environment with lush vegetation. We'll do this in just a couple of minutes while covering various scattering techniques. I have this fairly simple scene with two distinct shots, the first focusing on this small alley and the second on this garden. Instead of randomly scattering grass everywhere, I wanted to infuse some colors by adding some red plants in the mix. First, I'll open the GraphN Library toolbar by clicking on its logo, and by default, it'll snap to the top right corner of my viewport. You can drag the toolbar by holding and moving the logo, double-click on it to expand or collapse it, and as for these different features, we'll go through each one of them progressively in the tutorial. Let's open Scene Tags, which allows us to tag objects in the scene for easier access down the line. You'll notice that we have two buttons on this panel, Create Object and Create Asset Tag. Objects are basically actors in the scene such as meshes, lights, splines, and whatnot. Assets can be material or any other object that exists in your Hypershade if you're using Maya, or the content browser if you're using Unreal Engine. We want to tag the plants that have been put in our scene, so let's select them in the scene, then create an object tag and name it Lilies. Then hit the plus button in here to add all the selected objects to this tag. We can expand it to see its content and also select individual objects in the tag or all of them at once. And now to the fun part, let's begin our scattering. We'll open the Tools library, then type Foliage in the search bar. I'll click on the tool Surface Scatter, which basically allows us to scatter meshes like vegetation on surfaces like a terrain. Clicking on it will show us this empty panel, and if we click on the plus button over here, that'll create a new tab for us to scatter with. The tools usually have all of these properties, but all you need to focus on is the properties with the yellow message. In this case, the tool is asking us for two things. First, a surface to scatter on, and second, some objects to scatter. We'll click on the terrain mesh in the viewport, then click on the plus button on the surface meshes property right here. The yellow message will instantly disappear, meaning we only have one required property left. For this one, we'll right-click on the property, then click Add Lilies, which refers to the tags that we created before. This sets them as our scatter objects, and just like that, we've covered our surface with plants. I'll go ahead and adjust the density parameter, where a higher value means more scattered objects and a lower value means less. For this particular layer, I wanted to have some fairly big plants around the objects in the scene. So let's select those objects, then add them to the proximity mesh property, and that's about it. You can adjust the distance to only keep objects within a certain distance, or reverse the whole thing just by checking this checkbox. Hovering over each property will give you its description. Here, the max scale represents the maximum scale each scattered object should have. I'll adjust both min and max until I get the right size. Then tweak a couple of other parameters until I'm happy with the result. Next, I'm going to make sure that this layer is called Proximity, then create another layer called Red. This layer will contain the same plants, but we'll just change their material to red. I went on and gave it the same surface, the same lilies, and just made them much smaller, as I want them to look small yet invasive in this scene. I'm also going to tweak up the breakup features all the way down in our distribution settings, and this will allow me to vary the places where I want to see all the scattered plants. I'll tweak the settings a bit more, then make another layer for my twigs, another one for some pebbles, and a few more just to spice things up. I've sped up this part, but there's really no secret sauce here. We're doing exactly what we've already done with the first two layers, giving each one some ground to scatter on and some objects to scatter, then playing with the settings until we're happy with the result. I'm fairly content with this shot, so let's move on to the next one. Here, I wanted to put some berries in the soil and space them up a bit around the edges of each section. To do this, I created some curves and assigned them as the proximity objects to look for. Now, I went ahead and did some fine-tuning around every single layer. I gave them some proper names. I tweaked even the lighting in my scene a little bit, but the core idea around GraphN Library remains the same. Every tool always has some basic requirement. You give it the mesh you want to scatter, the mesh you want to place along a curve, or the mesh you want to decimate, and it does its magic. This non-destructive approach to world building is something we'll keep refining in the next few updates, with the goal of making it easier than ever to save and share your scatter setup with others. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to join our Discord, give the tools a spin, and provide as much feedback or feature requests as you want. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.